All right. Welcome to the first annual Comic Watch Awards live show. That's right, we're coming to you live tonight, so who knows what'll happen. The Watchies are brought to you, of course, by Comic Watch. Comic Watch is your source for all your comics and media news and reviews needs. Written by fans for fans. I'm your host for this illustrious evening, and here's Cody, as I'm sure you're all aware by now. And here's the rest of our presentation panel tonight.
Hello, I'm Brian.
Hi, I'm Derbs.
And I'm John Jack, folks. Hello.
So we here at Comic Watch reached out to all of our peers to create a comprehensive list of nominees across 14 categories. After tallying up all the overlap from the top 5 from each category was then voted on to determine an elite list of the best of 2018. But before we get to all that, here's Brian to discuss a little bit about the future of our show. Brian?
Yeah, so I have some pretty exciting news. This is actually what we're considering our season 2 of Comic Watch, or the Comic Watchers show. When we started, we just were doing YouTube. However, I'm happy to say that we've expanded and now we'll be on iTunes for podcasts, Spotify, and SoundCloud. So you won't get to see our beautiful faces on that, but you will be able to hear us. Also, second of all, I would also like to kind of echo what Cody was saying. I want to thank everybody that was part of this. I think we started originally talking about it back in July when San Diego Comic-Con came up. I think I mentioned it to you guys, and then we kind of snowballed. We've been working really hard on this since probably November. So it's been kind of a learning experience, but it's been an amazing experience. I want to thank Cody for all of his hard work, kind of putting all the organization details in, Derbs, who did all of the hard work of putting all the slideshows that you've seen kind of together, and also JJ for not cussing us out every day. But first and foremost, we have probably about 30 employees currently at Comic Watch, and we all took a vote. We all put in the best that we thought that we read. So it's a large amount of people who voted in. And, you know, for the most part, we are all fans. And I think sometimes we may forget and think about too much of the business part of it. But more than anything, us at Comic Watch, we are for the fans, written by the fans, for everybody. So it's so important that you guys know this when we're doing the show. And we did our hardest that we could to make sure that this was a legit award show. Like, we're not taking sponsorship. We're not saying, hey, you know, none of that. This is the most legit award show that we could have put on. Thank you for watching, all 3 of you.
That we could put on. That's right. You heard it here, folks. Thank you for all that, Brian. Thank you for all the hard work that you did putting together the nomination lists and tallying the votes and keeping track of all of the chaos that came out throughout this entire process. So, without further ado, let's get started on our first category, which I will be presenting, because why not? Letterers are the unsung heroes of the comics medium. Little credit is given, and often they go unrecognized. But the subtle art of lettering, by hand or digitally, is as important a craft as any other. Letterers are truly the link between image and text. Here are the nominees for Letterer of the Year. Wasn't too bad. Darren Bennett for The Green Arrow. Corey Pettit for X-Men Red. Tom Orchikowski for The Green Lantern. Joe Caramagna for Captain America. And Clayton Cowles for The New World. And the Watchie goes to Tom Orchikowski, Letterer of the Year, The Green Lantern.
I love that Derbs had clapping and everything else added to it. That was amazing, Derbs. You know, one of the first things that I loved about Tom was that I learned that he actually does everything by hand. I think that's awesome.
He's a legend in the field. He's been working since the 70s. Cody knows more about it than me, but you know, X-Men, Spawn. That early Spawn, the lettering work is friggin' next level. Worth looking up just for that.
Yeah, I
He
mean,
lettered
practically,
5,000 pages of Claremont
yeah,
X-Men.
practically everything you've read from Claremont, and all of us have at some point read something from Claremont. That's Tom. Like, that's amazing. That's a remarkable body of work over decades. I mean, this man is an absolute living legend. So it's our honor to honor him with the first Watchie of our first award show.
Way to go, Tom.
So our next category is going to be brought to you by our own Brian Durbridge.
There we go. So the rise of digital media has changed the ways we consume television shows, with industry giants such as Netflix, Hulu, and Amazon Prime, along with newer platforms like Sony Crackle entering the comics adaptation genre, and comics publishers launching their own streaming platforms. We're truly entering a golden age of comics media. So here are the nominees for Streaming Series of the Year. ... Titans from DC, Daredevil, Netflix, Marvel, Luke Cage, Netflix, Marvel, Iron Fist, Netflix, Marvel, and The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. And the winner for Best Streaming Series is, waiting for it, Daredevil. Woo! And that was hands down my pick, without question. D'Onofrio's performance of the Kingpin, and pretty much really every performance in that series was spot on and perfect. I don't really see that there was... I mean, there was some competition there, but as far as I was concerned, it was the strong choice for winner for that category.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that series. I think it was probably one of my top. Actually, when I was tallying everything up, that was like anonymous almost. Like, I think a couple of people have chosen here and there, but everybody pretty much said Daredevil hands down.
Yeah, it's probably hands down, I'd say the best of the Netflix Marvel series, and probably arguably the best live action Marvel series ever made that I can think of.
Yeah, no, I can't argue with that. I thought that it was just spectacular television. If D'Onofrio doesn't get some form of award for that, something's gone horribly wrong.
I mean, he's been petitioning like mad to get Daredevil renewed. He has a pretty big following for that on Twitter and Facebook and all of that. But, you know, we all know, no.
Right.
And if we do see it, we may see it in a reincarnation on Hulu. That's like the most likely thing that's going to happen. I wouldn't sell really Daredevil out, Punisher out, or the Defenders out, to be honest. I think we'll probably even see Heroes for Hire. Again, that's all speculation, but I'm willing to bet that we'll probably see Jessica Jones and Heroes for Hire, and Daredevil and Punisher on Hulu at some point. But, you know, that's me being, you know, I'm a silver lining guy, right?
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I totally agree with you. I think we have our inside sources that say that there's a strong possibility that it may end up heading over to Hulu, but that's too far in the future. I'm sure there's contracts and everything else involved right now that we can't get an official word. But anyways, congratulations, Daredevil. We hope to see you soon again.
So moving on to our next category, we'll kick you over to John Jack.
All right. Even in an era defined by the rise of digital technologies and avant-garde artistic styles, the role of the inker cannot be understated. From definition to finishes, inkers play an integral role in the creative process. The nominees for Inker of the Year are Cody, I think those are just on your screen. So it's Liam Sharp, Jerry Ellengian. That's a tough one. Mark Morales, David Mack, or Scott Williams. And it looks like the winner for Inker of the Year is Liam Sharp. Sorry.
Yeah, so that's okay. We got a little ahead of ourselves, JJ. It's not just on his screen; it's actually on our screen as well. I don't know if it's because you're using a different device that we are, but I do want to speak on. Yeah, so I do want to speak on Liam. He did amazing work. Like I've caught some of his Green Lantern stuff, and it's amazing. Like the amount of stuff that he's able to do in that book, and the amount of just pretty much everything that he does, it's amazing.
He also did some great artistic work on Brave and the Bold back in the spring, with which he also wrote.
Yeah. He did. Yeah, I read an interview with it, and I mean, there are so many great inkers that we wanted to win, but you know what? To be honest with you, it's this was such a hard category. So congratulations.
Okay, well, congratulations again to Liam Sharp. And moving on, we've got our first category from our producer, Brian.
I did not know I was the producer. This changes everything. Now I'm going to start sweating. All right. 10 to 15 years ago, the big thing on television was reality TV, with shows like The Real World, Survivor, Charm School, and For the Love of Flavor Flav, and countless others. Fast forward to 10 years, you can watch a comic book themed show almost any night of the week. Never in our history has comic books been represented on television like it is now. It has network and premium channels alike scrambling for the next big hit from comic books. The television series of the year nominees are dun, 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 dun. Supergirl, Arrow, Legion, Black Lightning, and The Gifted. And the winner goes to Legion. So I was actually, this is another one that I was really surprised at, that there was no hesitation or there was no like battleground area when it comes to voting. That hit pretty much almost anonymously as well. It was kind of surprising to see. I unfortunately haven't seen that show, so I didn't vote on that one. I didn't vote in that category at all. So I don't know. So somebody who's watched the show, what do you guys think of it?
So yeah, go ahead, Dirks.
But we both love it. But yeah, it was totally unanimous. Like Legion, season 1 blew me away. I've watched a lot of television. I mean, it's sad how much television I've watched, and it's impressive. But holy crap, Legion there was nothing like it. There really wasn't. I mean, there really isn't. And comic book related or not, just really that show was the bomb. And season 2 just kept it rolling. I'm actually pretty glad that it's going away, that it's got a season 3 and they're going to be done with it, because sometimes really good shows, no, that's what they've got. And they don't have enough premise. You know, they're running out of runway really quick here. The premise is going to run out. And I'd hate to see the show go bad. I'd rather it die than watch it go bad. And that's all I have to say. I just love it.
Yeah, I mean, better to burn out than to fade away, right?
Right.
Although, to be fair, I went looking for the source where I had originally thought that I had read that it was going to be ended after season 3, and I can't find the damn source. So who knows? We might have some more Legion in the future. I did the reviews on season 2, and let me tell you, that was a labor of love. Those were late nights with Kierkegaard and every philosopher and every piece of comic history I could find to try to make those reviews fit how much was crammed into such an avant-garde, beautiful, brilliant, narrative-driven, character-driven show. Legion 100% deserves it. It's one of the best shows I've seen in 15 years. So congratulations to Legion. And that brings us, unfortunately for you all, to me. From a 4-color world to the brightest technicolor of the digital age, comics coloring has come a long way from its early days. Often overlooked, colorists play a crucial role in setting tone and overall mood for any given comic story. This year's finalists for Colorist of the Year are... Now y'all gotta wait on me, because I have all the power of all the clickies. Just do it. Dave Stewart for his work with Hellboy and the BPRD. Jeremiah Skipper, Hawkman. Frank Darmata, Mr. and Mrs. X. Jesus Obratov for Domino. And Sonny Go for Captain America. And the winner of Colorist of the Year is Dave Stewart. Yeah, I've almost got it. Oh, so much to do, so little time. Yeah, so Dave Stewart, congratulations to Dave Stewart. His work with Mike Mignola over the past 3 decades has just been remarkable. He never misses, and color is such an important thematic in the Hellboy comics. So, I mean, I can't think of a better colorist to win the 2018 award. Fellas?
This is one that I actually really didn't chime in on. So you guys just go ahead. I mean, he's brilliant, but to be honest, when I look at colorists, there's a lot of times where I feel they're limited by the artist that they're with. So many colorists are just fantastic. And to think that, you know, this guy has really risen to the top of our opinions, I mean, that says a lot about him. So that's all I have to say.
I absolutely love the art on Hellboy and the BPRD in general. Colors by Dave Stewart. You can look at just about anything, and it's beautiful work always.
I always love that JJ, no matter where he's at, if he's at his home where he's currently is now, or if he's at his comic book store, like if we need a quick reference, he just points it out. Like I absolutely love that.
I did have to flip into the credit section and make sure he colored it before I got a random illustration.
Yeah, and again, this was another one that everybody voted pretty heavily on one side or the other with him. I mean, ultimately, everybody had a lot of votes, but there was a couple of them that were, at least 3 or 4 of them, that had a little bit of a jump more than the other categories did. And so, I mean, kudos to Dave Stewart in bringing it home for the 2019 Watchie Award.
Absolutely. So now that we're through most of the technical categories, let's move on to Derbs with one of our bigger categories of the night.
So comics are without a doubt a highly visual medium. From cover art to panel layouts, comics artists deploy dozens of techniques to construct the visual portion of comics narrative beyond simply drawing pictures. These are the storytellers nominated for Artist of the Year. And I apologize if I mispronounce your names. But Mahmoud Asrar for X-Men Red, David Mack for cover, Francesca Mattina various covers, Alex Ross, Captain America, and various covers, and Lee Bermejo, Batman Damned. And the winner of the Best Artist Watchie is David Mack, Best Artist of the Year for cover. So I'll be my own fanfare for that.
Yeah! I loved his Superman covers so much.
I do want to add real quick how we've been talking about kind of the others. The artist race was so close that we've had to have 2 different tiebreakers because they kept going into ties. So, I mean, and ultimately, I think David Mack with the cover and the cover of Superman, I mean, it just nailed it. Like, I'm very happy for everybody who's nominated. Like, it's a big feat. Kudos to David Mack for also winning this year.
Yeah, it was a definitely between him and Mahmoud Assar for X-Men Red. But David Mack is really pulling ahead as, I don't know, the best artist in the last couple of years, at least. I mean, very impressive. Congratulations.
Yeah. And also when I was pulling the nominees for the, okay, so the best artist of the year was probably the hardest category for me because there are so many great artists out there. I mean, there's so many great everything out there that it was really impossible to get, like, everybody had a different favorite artist. So we had to start like just barely like, okay, this person has 2 nominees, and pile it together. And it took like, that category took a week just to get 5 nominations. And then, so you can only imagine what it was like to get the final artist. So congratulations.
Absolutely. Congratulations, David. You know, I was definitely in your corner. I'm sure you could tell from my reviews of your work and, you know, our interactions on Twitter. David Mack has long been, to me, one of the pinnacles of what you can do with the comics medium. He's always pushing the boundaries a little bit further than the last person, than his last work even. To me, Cover is just an absolute masterpiece in visual narrative. So just congratulations, David. I'm really excited for you. I'm really happy to be able to be a part of this. And now off to our, am I right? No. Now off to the producer for the next category.
He keeps saying producer, and I get this tie gets a little tighter each time. Yeah, so writing is something that we all do every day. May it be a quick note on a sticky note, maybe it's our grocery list, or maybe it's a text message, or maybe it's an email telling our boss what we really think, or not really think, and read between the lines. Who knows? Writing, scripting, plotting, dialogue, narration, rhythm, and voice. The role of the comic writer encompasses many critical elements in comics. As comics continue to mature in the 21st century art form, the balance of these elements have become more and more trying, opening pathways at truly great writers to rise. Here are the nominees for Writer of the Year. Tom Taylor for X-Men Red. Matthew Rosenberg, New Mutants, Dead Souls. Kelly Thompson, Mr. and Mrs. X. Tom King, Batman. Brian Michael Bendis for Action Comics and Superman. And the winner for Best Writer of the Year is Tom Taylor for X-Men Red. Now, I think we've talked about Tom Taylor more in our season 1 shows than any other writer, which is pretty awesome. I mean, he does great work. I am proud that Tom Taylor won. There's so many great writers. It's really hard to pick one. This is another one, when we were talking about the art, this is another one that was kind of coming up in a tie, and we had to do tiebreakers with it. So, I mean, there's no losers in this category, or any category for that matter. But also, congratulations, Tom Taylor.
Notice that Cody made it so he wasn't the one saying this one, so you wouldn't mix up Tom King and Tom Taylor. I'm never going to let him forget.
To be fair,
Tom Taylor's so insanely talented. Sorry. His Batman annual was fantastic. X-Men Red gets some of the highest praise I've heard. His Injustice 2 is fantastic. And he recently launched a new Spider-Man series that I really enjoyed. Top-notch writer. All the writers, top-notch writers, but he's the toppest notch.
Yeah, Tom Taylor has definitely written some of my favorite things this year. Um, I think I'm with writing the most, similar to Brian is with art, with comics. I scrutinize the writing the most, definitely. And there's just this kind of feeling you can get within the first page or two, where you just understand, whoa, he's keyed in. There's something special here. I mean, people can write decent stories, and good writers can really write anything. And it can be interesting or, varying degrees, but Mr. Taylor really knows how to key into something and make something special, and that's hard to do. This medium's been around forever, and comics can sometimes skew into the two-dimensional, very, very easily, just because of the nature of the medium and superheroes and kids and okay. But I really appreciate that Mr. Taylor doesn't sell out ever. I read his stuff and I'm just like, all right. I'm just excited for the next one. So.
Yeah, absolutely. To echo, what Derp said, I'm the same way. Like, I can read a well-written book with terrible art and still enjoy it. I cannot read a gorgeous book with bad writing and enjoy it. And Taylor, for me, it doesn't matter who he's got as his artist on any given project. That book is going to be enjoyable for me. His mastery of voice, the way he makes every character distinct, not just in the way they talk, not just in the actual, the words that are coming out of their mouth, but the ways that they use them, the ways that the characters develop and act. It's top-notch writing as far as I'm concerned. So congratulations.
Yeah, and to kind of echo what Cody and both Derbs are saying, so when I started Comic Watch 6 months ago, I never knew who the writers were, the artists were. I just knew if I enjoyed it or not. But since then, everything's changed. So when I pick up a Tom Taylor book, I'm able to identify his writing style because he is very unique in making the characters different and having a different voice, but staying true to that character. And I think that is very, very special. So congratulations.
Yeah, it's I call it interpersonal opacity, is what Cody and I were talking about a couple of days ago. But I generally find characters more interesting and frankly just digestible when that opacity is to its fullest. And it's impossible because you got one person writing it. He knows everything. But the more he can obfuscate that and tell that story through those characters and make you believe that it's happening, that's really what's special about really the top writers in any industry. He could go write anything. Comics are just where he's at right now, but he could jump.
Stop it, Derbs. You're going to lose him to television like we lose so many. Stop.
Yeah, I was like, don't encourage this. No, comics is where we love him and hope you stay a long time.
You are at your best here, Tom Taylor. Stay here. So with that, congratulations, Tom Taylor. And now
your career has plateaued.
Oh, stop it. Fired. He's fired. Don't worry, Tom. He's fired.
Again.
After
I'll see myself out.
After we hand it over to our strong, independent John Jack for Indie Series of the Year.
Hey, everybody. While most of the industry continues to be focused on DC and Marvel comics, small publishers continue to be the lifeblood of the comics industry. Create your own properties allow for greater innovation and development than ever before, and it is these publishers that will usher in the next evolution in comics narrative. Our nominees for Indie Series of the Year are Saga from Image, Gideon Falls from Image, Coda from Boom Studios, BPRD, The Devil You Know from Dark Horse, and Isola from Image. And the winner for Best Indie Series of the Year is Saga! Exciting stuff. I am not current on Saga, but I have read the first half of the series and can tell you that if people are still raving about it, it is exactly as good as they say it is.
Okay, guilty. I'm going to be guilty for a second. Saga completely deserves this award. However, I was almost hoping that it wouldn't win because I didn't want anybody to spoil what happened in issue 54 because I'm catching up and it's such an amazing series. So I was like, please don't anybody say anything about 54. Just let her win.
But it's so hard. Like, okay, so Saga, I've been on board with Saga since day one. It was a title that my local comic shop put in my box, said, hey, you like Brian K. Vaughan, check this out. You're going to love this. Fiona Staples is the bomb. So I read the first issue, and I mean, that was it. It was over. I was hooked, and I've been on board ever since. So
was it you I had to hook someone up with in my group for Love of Comic Book or for Love of Comics? Because you needed to talk about it with someone.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, Saga is mostly marketed. It's kind of pushed.
I think this guy's current on Saga.
Right. You get the wait for the trade kind of crowd, right? So you know, it's always people that are 6 months behind or whatever, like a full arc behind. So yeah, like I was dying for it. It actually was fellow Comic Watch writer, one of our rookies, Matt Meyer. So shout out to Matt while we've got it on the line here.
Yeah, he was actually supposed to join us today, but because of error in our messenger or our message, it didn't actually go through. But he should be joining us next week live, or not live, not live. This is the only live show we're
not live. There's already too many cooks in the kitchen right now.
Yeah,
but there was one thing that was really hard about this this category because I love Gideon Falls. I love Gideon Falls so much. Like, I didn't even really know what I was getting into, and I pre-ordered it. You know, I was ready, and I just knew the whole time. Even when we first started talking about doing the awards show and everything, I'm like, I'm gonna vote for it, but it won't matter because Saga is transcendent. What do you do? I don't know, but just major props to Gideon Falls. I love you. I'll see you next month.
I voted Gideon Falls too, Derby.
I know it was just you and me. It was just you and
me. I was just gonna say, like, this is one of the ones this is one of the categories that Saga kind of won by a landslide. But I will say that every indie category, actually, all of them had a bunch of votes just to get into the noms. So kudos to all the books. Everybody loved all the titles that are on the noms.
Yeah, Comic Watch is peppered with indie lovers. I mean, in fact, I think you can't help but be inundated with comics from the big two and not fall in love with indie comics because you just have so many creators woven throughout. And I don't know, we have so many people that are like, you know, Cody, who's just like, you're not reading that? You're not reading that. For real, you're not reading that? What the hell's the matter with you? I mean, he's nicer than that sometimes, but not really.
Not. Like, I've literally gotten mailbox.
He's really mean when he's not wearing a tuxedo.
I've literally gotten mailboxes.
I think he's meaner.
Mail from him saying, you need to read this. Thank you, by the way. It's a great series. But yeah, kudos Saga.
Yeah, many props to Saga. I think it was well deserved, as Derb said. It's a transcendent title, and Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples have just been doing phenomenal work for an extended period of time. But all of the nominees are fantastic series. If you haven't read them, because they're not Marvel or DC, go pick them up, go check them out. Indie really is the future. So support your local independent comics publishers, the small publishers. Do what you can. Don't pirate them, please. They need every dime they got to keep putting out the kind of work that they're putting out.
Hell,
So
don't pirate Marvel or DC. I mean, anything you do is screwing everybody. It's all trickle down.
Yes, support your local comic box store.
Absolutely. Support your LCS. So with that, we'll move on to the next category, which is also, unfortunately for you all, me. Since the early days of the 1960s, Marvel Comics has been a major player in the comics publishing arena.
Oh, but Cody, you skipped me.
I skipped you?
You skipped me.
You did. We have one other one first.
Oh,
but
bummer.
If you want to go so badly, you can go.
I sure don't.
Oh, all right.
Please, Derbs, go ahead. I can reread that.
Okay. So, long-running comics titles are a place of comfort and nostalgia for many readers, but the work done in the realm of the limited series tends to be work we remember for generations. From seminal works such as Watchmen and Infinity Gauntlet to more recent successes like Civil War and Infinite Crisis, the heavy lifting seems to take place in these mini-series. Here are the 2018 nominees for mini-series of the year. And we have New Mutants, Dead Souls from Marvel, Doomsday Clock from DC, Batman Dark Knight's Metal from DC, Batman White Knight from DC, and X-Men Extermination from Marvel. And the winner of the best miniseries is... Doomsday Clock. Easily my favorite mini of the year. May even transcend mini, to be honest. Number 8. Frankly, I'm still kind of reeling from number 8. How good number 8 was. Because it almost seems like a standalone. Like it was, I don't know. When you read a piece of artwork like that, it just kind of, it's crazy. It's crazy good. I'm so happy for it. What do you think, Cody?
What do I think? I think that I am shuffling all of the stuff happening here. We are talking about... I totally spaced out.
Doomsday Clock.
Oh my God, Doomsday Clock. Doomsday Clock. What a... so this was a really tight category. This is another one that, I mean, came down to multiple different variations of tiebreakers, and I mean, me just holding my breath for a week saying, how can Doomsday Clock not win? Like, this is a magnum opus. This is something that our children's children will be talking about the way that we talk about Watchmen in my generation, or, you know, the younger generations, like John's generation. This has all of the trappings and markings of a genre transcending series. So, you know, if this doesn't make New York Times's top 100 novels of, you know, whatever decade they're talking about, I'll be incredibly surprised. This is a worthy heir to the Watchmen throne. Somebody else talk.
Hi. No, thank you guys. Thank you guys. I'll accept this award for them. No, I knew it was a great book. I almost said New Mutants. Doomsday Clock was a great book. I'm a little behind on it, but from what I've heard and all the great reviews are awesome.
I absolutely love... Am I muted? No. Sorry. Distracted for a second. I absolutely love Doomsday Clock. The art is just phenomenal, and the story is finally paying off a year and a half in. There's only a year and a half to go. You trade waiters, you guys were the real suckers this time.
A year and a half or longer.
But it's worth it. I love it. It's you know, Jeff Johns is one of the... I'd say probably one of the better writers ever on comics. Not like... I'd call him like top 15. but you know, going all time. Like, he's just the top tier creator, and he bears watching at all times, and this series is no exception.
By the way, John Jack, nice tuxedo. You notice we're twinsies. Representing.
Dumb and Dumber, baby.
Right? But which is which? But before Watchmen was less than it was received, mixed. And so when Doomsday Clock was announced and I started looking at it, I was really looking at it. I mean, fine tooth comb, magnifying glass, Sherlock Holmesing it, really wondering, really making sure, really questioning, really skeptical. And probably the most skeptical I've been about a book in a very long time. And I finished the first book, and again, it was another one of those moments where it was just the craftsmanship and just, this is something special, and this person really loves Watchmen, loves comics in general, knows their shit. Amazing.
Yeah, I totally agree. Where JJ said, top 15 of all time, he's probably in the top 5 for me at this point. Just the staying power of Jeff Johns has been remarkable. Everything he's done with Gary Frank has been everything you could hope for out of it. I'm sure, that there are people out there that are skeptical because of the weight, and a lot of that probably has to do with the art. But the art's worth the wait. It's worth the wait for marvelous work. And I mean, shit, issues of Watchmen were late too, kids. I know you weren't there, but it happened. This is not a new thing. This isn't a millennials thing. This isn't generational. This is something that's always happened, and it's just part of the industry. So kudos to Doomsday Clock for winning miniseries of the year. And now I will redux the next category. Since the early days of the 1960s, Marvel Comics has been a major player in the comics publishing arena, and 2018 was no different. As it has been for the past 6 decades, Marvel continues to be at the forefront of marrying social issues and narrative, confronting everything from social media trends to racism. Here, okay, we do this. Here are the entries for Marvel's Series of the Year. X-Men Red, Punisher, Captain America, Uncanny X-Men, Fantastic Four, and Domino. And the winner is X-Men Red, Best Marvel Series of the Year. Somebody
Yay.
else talk about it. Sorry, so many moving parts.
No, X-Men Red. I had just gotten done with. I just started Comic Watch, and I just started getting back into X-Men comics. It's a sore spot for me because I sold a bunch that I used to have from the 90s. I hadn't collected Marvel comics in a long time, but selling my X-Men comics was like selling your heart. But I just finished reading Gold, just finished reading Blue, and started reading Red, and was just, I mean, I like Blue and Gold, but wow, I was just blown away with how good Red was. And yeah, I kind of wish that Blue and Gold were a little bit more like Red, or a lot more. But again, different pressures, different moving parts, different a lot of things. But Red was poignant, it was current, it was thoughtful, has my favorite Marvel moment in comics this year, which is Gabby calling Namor Abslantis. So yeah,
that was actually totally one of my favorite parts. I was like, oh, I see where she's going with that. Yeah, I think that again, Tom Taylor did an amazing job on this book. You felt every character was different. Sorry, my dog decided to be nosy and see what's going on outside. Tom Taylor did an amazing job on this book. I would read anything that he writes, as we normally do. When I first read the book, I was like, it's a good book. Gene's back. I'm happy. But then after talking to different people, I realized that it's a much bigger book than what I first realized. So kudos. It definitely deserves to be Marvel's book of the year or running series of the year.
Yeah, no, I believe that JJ didn't read this series or maybe only read a few issues of it, which is fine. JJ's not an X-Men fan. For an X-Men fan, this feels like something that has been missing in X-Men narratives for probably the better part of the last decade, and that's the social relevance. And if you're interested in kind of parsing out and unpacking some of that social relevance, I highly recommend one of our two or either of our two commentaries that have been written on X-Men Red for Comic Watch. There's one out there written by Bethany W. Pope and the other one written by Travis Hedgecote. They're both incredibly insightful. They take it from different angles. Go check those out. It kind of really shows you the massive depth that Tom King poured into this book with his various artists, from Asrar to Carmen Carnero. Mad props to Carmen Carnero and Jorge Antonio. Any final thoughts on Red before we move on? John Jack.
You did just say Tom King.
No, I did not say Tom King.
You
did not happen. No.
Yep.
Oh no.
Yep.
I cannot wait. I cannot wait for the playback on this. Because he's only done it twice and he's worked so hard.
100%.
You're always breaking it. Oh my god, that's so funny.
Hilarious.
I will read Reddit.
JJ to the punch, jumping on that.
All right.
I'm distracted.
All
Next
right,
category.
what's going on?
I'm the next category. Well, I can tell you. Next category. Oh, Cody ditched us. So, the stalwart publisher from the very beginning of the superhero age of comics, DC Comics continues to produce stories filled with iconic characters that help define the landscape of culture in the United States, from the gritty streets of Gotham to the sleek sheen of Metropolis and the mysteries of the Source Wall. DC Comics spent 2018 pushing the boundaries of their vast canon of characters. The nominees for DC Series of the Year are Justice League Dark, Hawkman, Justice League, Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern Corps, Detective Comics, and Batman. And the winner is Justice League Dark. Awesome. That is the one I would have voted for. I did vote for.
Yeah, Justice League
way
Dark
better series than I expected, yeah.
Yeah, Justice League Dark definitely kind of came out of, was kind of a dark horse in it when it first came out. When I first heard about it, I was like, all right, let's see what's going to happen. But then when I read it, I was like, oh my God, this is really good. And Bobo, you have a talking chimp who's a detective. You can't go wrong.
I'll be honest with you, I'm so far behind on Justice League Dark that I don't have an opinion on it. I was very surprised it was a dark horse win, and but I'm not surprised because James Tynion IV has become one of the best writers for DC right now. So that doesn't surprise me in the least.
I think my biggest problem probably with comics right now is as soon as you start talking about magic, mostly magic, I start to fall asleep or just start to get tired, start to want to read other things, and that's a flaw probably with my judgment. I'm probably overlooking some really good books. So, but I did read some of it, and the imagery, a lot of the imagery that they use. What's the name of the villain that looks really terrifying and is upside down? Was that the Upside Down Man that he's called?
Yeah, it's a pretty tough one to remember.
Dude, he was amazing. He was terrifying. Yeah, he was. Hey, really good. That was really good. I just don't know did he come back? I haven't caught up, so I don't know if he comes back or I just saw him get obliterated, so I don't know.
Well, you got to read and catch up to see why it's this year's season or DC running series of the year.
Yeah.
Well, before we move on to the final three categories tonight, I'd like to take a moment to remember those who had an indelible place in the comics industry who passed away this year. Please join me for a moment of silence to these pioneers. Thank you. And now as we move on to the final three categories, we'll send you over to Derbs for the first of our final big three.
Thanks for that memoriam, Cody. Really, really good. Really hard to watch. So in 1978, Christopher Reeves made us believe a man could fly. 40 years later, comics film adaptations have blossomed into a genre of their own, and the dominant genre at that. Here are the nominees for Best Movie of the Year. Ant-Man and the Wasp, Marvel Studios. Incredibles 2, Disney and Pixar. Deadpool 2, Avengers Infinity War, and Black Panther. And the winner for Best Movie of the Year is Black Panther. I know it's not that big of a shocker with that list. And I do want to iterate that our cutoff was December 7th. Is that right, Brian? For the nomination? So this nomination did not include Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse or Aquaman.
For us, the year ends on Pearl Harbor Day.
Yes.
Right. So, however, I was not too surprised seeing the nominations and seeing what there was to offer, what there was to offer this year. Black Panther was genre-defying and also somewhat controversial with acceptance of it. There's been some, memes out there. If you don't like it, then there's something wrong with you, kind of memes and opinions. Personally, though, I thought it was a really good movie. I thought that Killmonger's plight and his answer for what his life had become and how he had become who he was very, very incredible. Just incredibly written. And just very, very well acted. Anyway, That's all I have for movie of the year.
It was a huge year for Marvel Studios. I mean, they had some really good movies out, from Black Panther to Avengers Infinity War, which broke box office numbers. Black Panther also did. It's kind of nice to have Ant-Man and the Wasp as kind of the comedic outbreak after the two major movies. But I mean, there's no doubt, I think, in anybody's mind that Black Panther was the #1 hit for more than one reason. It was just a really great book, or I'm sorry, a really great movie. And in my opinion, it deserves to be the Comic Watcher movie of the year.
I saw it pretty recently. I actually managed to bypass spoilers almost completely. Everybody was so caught up in all the racial BS that I didn't hear anything about the actual plot. So it actually ended up being great, and I really enjoyed the movie. It takes me a long time to get around to watching movies. I have family and a job and stuff. Unlike all of you. But Black Panther was worth watching. It was good. I think out of these 5, definitely the best.
Nice caveat. So it is unfortunate that we had to close the nominations early, but I mean, it is what it is. We only have so much time to work on putting these kind of things together. Black Panther for me was easily the best comic movie of the year. I haven't seen Into the Spider-Verse yet, but still, for me, it is the best comic movie of the year. The ways that Coogan goes about world building in this movie is almost at like a Tolkien-esque level of creating this entire world of Wakanda. Like, we see people eat in Wakanda. We see what they do on the streets, how they behave, how they interact with each other. We're being introduced to an entire culture.
Not just in the main city,
Right.
You get to see it out in the suburbs. You get to see the farmers. I mean, it's a whole, yeah, absolutely. Sorry.
No. I mean, it's just that to me is remarkable in the space that they had to be able to develop it to that level, to that degree of detail. There were some issues with some of the CGI, but there's always issues with the CGI. This is an adaptation of a form that was never meant to be adapted. So, keep that in mind when you're busting the chops of some of these movies. Venom looks weird. Well, yeah, Venom looks weird. Venom looked weird in the comics, but it was a comic, so it was cool. So I mean, yeah, that's just my 2 cents, my little rant on people that are a little bit too critical of the work that some of these comic movies are doing.
I've never heard it said exactly that way. Never. But it's absolutely right. Absolutely right. Good on you.
Thank you. So moving forward, we kick it back over to John Jack for a very special category, a very difficult category to narrow down.
Yeah. The ability to stand out in a single issue in a sea of comics is no small task. To touch the fan base in a remarkable way takes a great amount of skill from the entirety of the creative team. This year, we were lucky to have so many exceptional issues to choose from. In the end, our 5 single-issue nominees for Best Comic Book of the Year are Batman Annual number 3, Action Comics number 1000, Doomsday Clock number 8, Champions number 24, and the Batawang itself, Batman Damned number 1. And the winner is Batman Annual number 3. I mean, this issue came out right at the end of the year, right on the cusp of our cutoff. I think it was literally the day before our cutoff day. But it was just a phenomenal issue of Batman. Just like it was an Alfred story, and we rarely get decent Alfred stories.
Yeah, I mean, picking a book, even just for me, that was as just a voter, not even collecting all of it, is really hard. I mean, there are such great stories. We have Batman Damned, who I think kind of got there, not unfortunately for not necessarily the lack of story, because it's a great story, but because there's so much news media around it. And unfortunately, it was because he showed his wing, whatever, Wayne. And then you have a book like Champions, who focuses on some very serious issue, especially in the U.S., school shootings. And then you have Doomsday Clock #8 and Action Comics, who I think was almost the #1 seller of the year in all comics. But I think that actually may have recently changed. I had to go back and look at the numbers. But Batman Annual 3 there is something extremely special about it. I mean, it was kind of, Alfred was about to leave, and then Bruce Wayne's parents died, and it kind of shows the true heart that Alfred is and why he's as great as he is.
Writing what John said about it being an Alfred story, I've always just maintained that Alfred and Bruce are the same guy, that they are Batman, that there really isn't a difference between them as far as what the bat is. You don't really have one without the other. And out of the 3 times I think I teared up, like I actually teared up reading a comic, were these 3 of these books. Annual #3, Doomsday Clock #8, we had Firestorm. Oh, that was heavy. And then Champions 24. My wife's a public educator. Just get me, got me good. But another win for Tom Taylor. Batman Annual #3 just really is another defining book for me as far as thinking of what's a must read, and it's a single issue. I stare at it and just was like, how is this not a mini? What is going on? Like, what? And of course, I mean, it's just pure concentrated awesome. You just, we're ravenous wolves. We just want more and more and more. So yeah, excellent book. Excellent category this year.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with you. Like, this is a phenomenal category. There's not a single issue in this list that I won't reread multiple times over the years. This issue in particular, like, it's so hard to spot these books as they come along that encapsulate the spirit of the character. So like the entire spirit of this mythic figure of the Batman, as Derbs put it, where it's both Alfred and Bruce together form the Batman. It's perfectly captured by Taylor in this book. The art by Otto Schmidt was a beautiful fit. I hadn't really read much from Otto Schmidt before this issue, but I will seek out more. Just a beautiful book. And that brings us to our final category, which I'm going to make Brian do. Brian.
Yeah. All right. Now for the moment that you've all been waiting for. The marriage of image and text is a defining characteristic of the comic medium. All comics do this, but not all comics execute this partnership as well as others. The best comics in history are a perfect blend. There have been so many great running series this year. Every creative team deserves a round of applause. 2018 was a great year for comics, so much talent out there. However, there has been 5 outstanding running titles that made its votes. The following nominees for Best Comic Running Series of the Year is Domino, X-Men Red, Batman, Saga, and Justice League Dark. And the winner goes to Domino for Best Series of the Year by Marvel. I've never been a huge fan of Domino. But one of the reasons why I think that this book was so special is that when I read it, I fell in love with Domino. And I think it was such a it is such a consistent book that it deserves its accolades and definitely belongs as the running series of the year. Anybody else?
One thing I was talking about with friends when we just are sitting and BSing, especially for drunk, and I repeat myself a lot over the years. This is a comedy generally is a mixture of cleverness and being funny, and people tend to mix cleverness and funniness, and it's not the same thing. You have to be both clever and funny. You can't just be clever and be funny. And Domino succeeded in being very clever, very funny, very sharp. And it kind of fills some holes where I feel like comedy's gone way too just clever and wacky, like Deadpool and Harlequin, Harley. Yeah, so Domino's kind of like this breath of fresh air. It didn't get my nom for best, but that doesn't mean I don't recognize it as a good book. So yeah, very good.
All right, I think we are at the end of the show. So thank you everybody for watching the 2019 Comic Watch, the Watchies, as I think we've kind of called it. And before I close that out, does anybody have anything else to say?
We were holding steady at 5 watchers the entire time. So
we peaked
all 5 of you guys.
We peaked at 6
people. Oh, great, guys. Oh, you guys rule. Maybe next year we'll be up to like 12, and that'll be
or 6.
The 6 of you, though. The 6 of you guys are...
As long as we continue to grow, it's fine.
Still, there's thinking that there's like 6 guys or people watching us while we do this makes me makes me a little queasy. Like even just the 5 of you, congratulations.
You guys are gonna get lucky with someone.
You made me a little sick. Made me a little sick. Some of you don't know, or maybe you know a little bit. I'm a little sick, so congratulations.
All right, guys.
Please. Thank you to our viewers today. Thank you to the rest of my teammates and the rest of Comic Watch for helping us pull this off. Maybe next year we'll have somebody a little bit better with all the technical stuff, but we're working out the kinks, but we're getting there. And most of all, thank you to all of the nominees and all of the winners for giving us the art that you have given us throughout this year. This has been a really exceptional year for comics. At the start of the year, I was a little bit skeptical, but as the year developed, like this has been really a banner year for the medium. So thank you to all of you.
Yeah. So in closing, thank you for watching our premiere episode of season 2 of Comic Watch. You can watch us or like us on Facebook at The Comic Watchers Show, or you can also like our main page, The Comic Watch on Facebook. Also go to www.comic-watch.com. Also make sure you like us and subscribe to our YouTube channel down below. And very soon you're going to see us on iTunes, Spotify, and SoundCloud. All right, season 2 is on its way. Bye.
School.
All right, thanks for watching.